Good evening, sports fans, and welcome to ATL Prime Sports powered by the Stables Network. I'm your host, JJ Jurjevich. Joining me tonight is TC and, of course, Mark and Breck behind the boards. I'm filling in for only Stephanie Stallworth, your ATL traffic lady tonight. Everybody, please follow us on Twitter at ATL Prime Sports. That's Instagram too, at Quarter Todd, at JJ Get You One, at Mancini Sports, and of course, the one, the only Stephanie Stallworth at ATL Traffic Lady. Please follow the show. Feel free to chime in anytime on Twitter or dial us up at our new call-in number, 678-280-7123, or please, you can use the usual 720-707-2699, meeting ID 179-057-108 with the pound sign. Listen live anytime now on prime time with the stablesnetwork.com. Tell your friends, tell your family. Lots to cover on the show today. TC's back. Welcome back.
Hey, thanks. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Man, it's crazy. LSU's out here. OBJ being generous after the national championship game. The Braves swung and missed on free agent third baseman Josh Donaldson. This and more on ATL Prime Sports. TC, what's up, my friend?
Hey, very busy week in sports. Got the NFC, AFC championship games coming up this weekend with the AFC between the Titans and the Kansas City Chiefs, a 7.5 point underdog, and of course in the NFC, Green Bay at San Francisco. They're a 7.5 point underdog. I find the lines pretty heavy for an AFC NFC championship game, but so far the Cinderella story of the NFL playoffs has been the Tennessee Titans. They're the first team since the 1970s, when you go back to the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Miami Dolphins, to not pass over 100 yards each game and win. And just an incredible effort by Derrick Henry and that Titans offensive line. It brings me back to the 70s a lot, just running the football. Derrick Henry, of course, setting all kinds of records, averaging about 188 yards a game. And, you know, he did it against as you know, JJ, the great defenses of the Patriots and the Ravens. And Kansas City's D-line is not as good as those other teams. I think Derrick Henry has a chance to get 100+ yards again this week. But the only thing is the explosive offense of the Chiefs. As you know, they can score 28 points, and Mahomes can throw 4 touchdowns in a matter of 4 or 5 minutes and a quarter, depending if they turn the ball over or not. That'll be the key to the game. We'll talk a little bit later. It will give our predictions at the end of the show. But, you know, it's paramount that Tennessee does not turn the ball over. If they don't turn the ball over, they've got a chance. They can run the ball, keep Kansas City's offense off the field. And then to flip the script over in the NFC, you know, the Packers, you know, they got beat handily the last time they went out in San Francisco. To me, this game, that means nothing. 37-8, but let's see what Aaron Rodgers and company can do. It's imperative that they protect Aaron Rodgers, because last game, San Francisco got to him, and that'll be the key to the game. Can Aaron Rodgers receive adequate protection and get that ball off in 3 seconds to his playmakers down the field? If he does, the Packers have a chance to move on to the Super Bowl. And also, one more comment. I'm sorry. If the Packers and Kansas City win, it will be a rematch of Super Bowl I.
Be great. I was going to say the same thing.
That's something.
Could have a Super Bowl rematch, Super Bowl I rematch, 50-something years in the making.
54 to be exact.
Second. I think this is pretty cool. I'm glad you broke down the games pretty quickly. We will get to those. I'm glad you said those. My quick sports headlines for the week. I'm excited to see Zion. Zion Williams is expected to play January 22nd versus Spurs, and I couldn't be more excited. Trae Young, looking like an all-star, leading vote getter for guards in the NBA. huge. And also big news is I'm about to be a father. I found out a couple weeks ago. My fiance and I are expecting, so we will be having a little Djurjevic here coming September. So I'm super excited about that.
Yes,
That is basically
congratulations. A lot's been going on since the last time since the last time we spoke on the air. Between each of us, we've had a lot going on, and yes, for you, it's been very positive. For me, it's been different. But anyhow, congratulations, man.
Yeah, we've missed you, TC. We've been praying for you. We're glad to have you back. I'm sure as hell happy to have you here more than
It's
anything
good. It's
before.
good to be back, and it's good to be around.
Yes, sir. Well, so let's pop it off with this first topic, man. It's the hot topic of the sports world right now, TC. You know what it is, I know what it is, but I'm going to introduce the topic to the people because I am the host. Major League Baseball is the hot topic at the moment. The 2017 World Series champion Houston Astros are under fire for using technology to steal signs during the seasons. Should the Astros be revoked of their championship, and could other teams be affected by this? TC.
Well, no, they should not lose their World Series championship. You're open up a Pandora's box. If you do, you can go back in time 100 years in this game. What are you going to do about the Black Sox scandal? What are you going to do about the steroids? I mean, you can go on and on. What can you do about the gambling in the game? I mean, you can't start taking away championships. This is not college sports. The Astros, despite all the controversy, they did win the game on the field. Yes, there was cheating. And yes, they used technology to steal signs. And yes, hopefully this will stop Major League Baseball from implementing rules since the year 2000. Slowly, of course, the last couple of years, they've really had to implement them. But it started back in 2000, making management responsible for what's going on, what the players do. So, you can't do that. And there is some breaking news this evening, if I may say.
Go ahead.
The Mets right now.
I was going to say it.
I was going to say Carlos Beltran is really the only player that's really under fire, and he's no longer a player. He's a manager of the Mets. The Mets just hired him in the offseason. Just for a rewind, and they're assessing the situation. As we all know, Boston's manager, Joey Cora, my friend, I was talking to you, my friend. He got fired yesterday, and we all know about AJ's Hinch getting fired, and we also know about Lou now, the excuse me, the Astros general manager. He was dismissed, and he wasn't dismissed by Major League Baseball. He was dismissed by the Astros owner, Jim Crane, after the punishments came down from Major League Baseball, which are unprecedented in history. So that's where we're at right now, just to kind of catch up.
Yeah, catching up. I mean, we have different opinions on this. I think that changed the outcome of the ball game. I really do. I think the Astros cheated, and to me, again, it changed the outcome of games. We don't know how deep this goes yet, but we did get proof that they were using technology to steal signs and signal batters with which pitch is coming. The commissioner of baseball, Rob Manfred, brought down some hefty fines, a $5 million fine to be exact. You were talking about that. You're correct. General manager, Jeff Lunau and AJ Hinch lost their jobs. They lose draft picks, high-level draft picks, but they didn't lose that tainted championship, and to me, that's what it is. The Red Sox just fired Alex Cora, who was mentioned 11 times in Manfred's report on the Houston Astros. This thing's going to keep stemming out. We mentioned Carlos Beltran earlier. That is correct. Now Carlos Beltran is seriously getting allegations against his job. We'll see what happens about that. There's more to come in that story. 2 World Series champs in a row, TC. 2 managers canned for cheating allegations. It's no coincidence. This is cheating, and I think banners should be taken down. This is how
can I say something, JJ?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead. I got one more point when you make yours.
Oh, I was just going to say, this Major League Baseball did all they could. People wanted them to go further in this, and really they couldn't go any further. They gave the highest fine that they could give under the baseball constitution of $5 million. They fined the Astros. They took away the draft picks in 20, first and second round, and 20 and 21. And even if they make a trade or anything like that and involves draft picks, they still kick that can down the road. That will affect them whatever years they trade for. So they're definitely going to lose them if they sign a free agent or anything. They'll lose the picks no matter what. And, other than, like you said, taking the championships in away, and if you take them away, you're going down a slippery slope. And I explained that earlier. They've done all they could, in my opinion, at this time.
I hear you. I mean, I agree. Those are some heavy penalties, but you cannot tell me any different. And I'm about to explain it out right here. At JJ Get You One. That's our Twitter handle for my personal one. Find me on Twitter and look at my response to this nonsense that you put out there. This isn't sitting on second base and picking up the signs in the 6th or 7th inning, the third time through a lineup. This is knowing which pitch is coming and being able to react that much faster to that pitch, giving a clear edge to the player at the plate. These players can ID a pitch once it's released already, and you mean to tell me knowing what's coming doesn't give that person an edge? This has tainted.
No question it does. No question it does.
No question. And that's why I said, if I just proved it. We both agree that taints the game. How many times did this affect the outcome of the game? Now, we can't ever prove it. And I agree to an extent the championships revoking would be extreme, and I don't think it'll happen. But that's how serious I am about this, TC. That's cheating. I mean,
no doubt about it.
Team, sure, one thing, cheats, betting allegation, but this is stealing signs, not sitting on second base, finally getting it. This is using technology to gain an advantage and win. And
they've been stealing signs for years, but the technology is the one that crosses the line. They've got now they implemented other rules about, making sure that the cameras in the dugout aren't used to stealing signs. Even each team has replay cameras in their dugouts. They've got representatives from ball clubs standing right there so they can't do it. But, one of the hardest things, Mike, is in sports, even is hitting a baseball. It's an advantage if you know it's coming. No question about it. And they showed the Astros were 8-1 in the playoffs during 27 at home, 3-6 on the road. They showed the higher batting average. They showed the little more runs per game. All those stats are in there. And the swing and miss rate and the batting average and all that went up. But, you've still got to be able to hit the ball, catch the ball, throw the ball. And, the Yankees were shut out a couple of those games that year. They didn't even score runs. So the pitching part, Houston, they had the top rotation. You can't just take away their championship. You just can't do it. Who are you going to give it to if you do it?
The players play, and I told you, I do agree with that. But we both agree that games were tainted. And this is a stain. This is a stain on a championship for sure.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. This is crazy. We actually got Lou on the line, and I'm gonna bring in Lou here, and I want Lou to talk about this. I want to hear what Lou has to say. Lou's a big baseball guy. Lou, what do you think about this?
Not just a stain on the championship, but a stain on the whole team in general.
Agreed.
It was a player-driven thing, Lou. If I may say, it was in JJ, it was a player-driven thing. And if you listen to Jim Crane, the owner of the Astros press conference, he said, that management, the GM and the manager, Lou Howe and Hinch, they knew what was going on. But when they found out about it, they didn't stop it. And that's what got them in trouble. Had they went ahead and found out that it was player driven, and they went ahead and found out and reported it and stopped it, we wouldn't be talking about this here today like we are. So, and they're like, well, what can you do to the players? You can't do anything to the players. Brian McCann is one of the players, and he's retired. So, that's why baseball made the rules to punish the management once they found out about it. And I'm sorry, I just wanted to make that clear. Go ahead.
Yeah, what is Manfred doing about this? I mean, he does not know how to, run Major League Baseball.
I think he did
the best he could.
Yeah, I think he did all he could. He did implement the $5 million fine.
Which is the highest under the Constitution.
He did dock him high level draft picks. I mean, first round draft picks for I didn't see how many years down the line.
But
he did get it dock him a first round.
It's 2 years, first and second round, gentlemen.
Yeah,
the 2020,
I knew it was
2021.
So it's
lots of draft picks.
But I'm with you, Lou. I mean, the game was tainted last year, 2 years ago. The 2017 championship is tainted, and you can't tell me any different. That these guys are so good.
And what about with the Red Sox last year?
Yeah, and again, the Red Sox won it the next year, and arguably they're using some of the similar technology. And so if that's the case, you have 2 consecutive World Series champions that are being allegated of heinous acts.
Hey, gentlemen, thank God that Washington beat Houston last year in the World Series. When you think about that, everybody in America's got to be going, well, hey, there you go. We've got one that wasn't, didn't have any issues. And who knows if the Astros were cheating then?
Yeah.
Could you imagine there was
they probably were.
You listen to this. Can you imagine during the game, you could hear the banging of the trash can going on, knowing what's coming? I mean, that's pretty funny. Last year in the All-Star game, they had Freddie Freeman asking Justin Verlander on the mound. It's so hilarious. Tell me what's coming. I'm not sure if I can still hear it. They had his audio. They had him mic'd up. And he's like, I'll never have this advantage again. I just thought, tell me what's coming, and I still might not hit it. So, I think Manfred did a great job in terms he did all he could do with all he had. And I know it's not good enough for the fans. You can call us at 678-280-7123 and voice your opinion to JJ and myself. But what are you going to do? There's nothing else you can do except police it from here.
Yep, you got to police it more. We're going to have someone in the dugout policing technology use, social media use, things like that to steal signs, because anything is on the table. You could put a tweet out there, have a burner Twitter account saying which pitch is coming with something. I mean, you can have anything and everything. Lou, shout your show out real quick, and we'll let you listen on, man.
All right. It's the Enhanced Sports Show. We have a new time now and a new number, so you might want to make this down. We're now on 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, still on Saturdays. And the new number, 512-543-4662. That number again, 512-543-4662. And get this, folks, you do not need a pound sign. Not anymore.
Say my number one more time.
512-543-4662.
Bingo. All right, my friend.
Lou, you're up in the Northeast. Before we let you go, Beltran, he was the most prominent player mentioned. He's not a player now. He's a manager of the Mets. I think the Mets, he hasn't even managed a game yet. And unfortunately, I think they have no choice but to fire him. You're up there. Do you think he's going to get fired?
Do I think he's going to get fired? Yeah, I do, because I hear his name being mentioned on the hot seat. So it looks like that Beltran is out of it. Sorry to say.
Until it happens, it'll be interesting to see what the Mets do. And thanks for calling, Lou. Greatly appreciate it. he's the next one to possibly go.
Hey, congratulations on your news.
And then after that,
Thank you.
After that, it'll clean house. But Lou, thanks for calling. We appreciate it. Thanks for listening. JJ, he's the next one up on the board. And they talked to former Brave Mark Teixeira, who works for ESPN and former Yankee and an excellent player here in Atlanta. And he said the Mets have no choice but to fire Beltran. What do you think?
I would have to tend to agree with you. If his name was mentioned that many times as well, just like Cora's was mentioned 11 times, Beltran's name's mentioned on there several times. You can't have that as a manager. You can't even risk it. I do think, unfortunately,
could you imagine the scrutiny?
It's got to be the shortest stint
going to
ever.
training camp with? Could you imagine going to training camp with this deal if they kept him? Oh my gosh, this story in the New York media would never go away.
Never go away.
Unfortunately, they have to fire him by not only guilt, but by association of guilt. His name's in there, and it'll be nothing but, calling show fodder every day up there. The sports talk radio will be meant, it'll never go away.
No.
Even if he wasn't, prominent in this, which he is, they're going to fire him just to get rid of the story, get rid of the headline. Just like Jim Crane, JJ, the owner had no choice but to fire him. What are they going to do? Hinch and Lou now going to come back next year? Could you imagine the story would start all over again? Correct?
Yeah, it just the cycle.
It'd be a mess.
You
it
can't.
Would never go away.
It would have to. I don't know. It would have to. It has to end. This is
that's how it ends. You fire them.
And as we mentioned, the way to end it is just get rid of everybody. And unfortunately, I think that's what's going to happen.
And the Astros people are like, they're not punished. You're right. They're not punished in terms. They'll find a manager. They'll find a GM. This is still a stacked team who has a chance to go to the World Series despite this distraction in January.
But this kills them in the future.
Yeah, they still are good. But it's going to hurt them in the long term, not the short term, unless it hurts the short term psyche of the team and they don't come out of the gate well, and people will blame that.
People will blame that. Let's move on to the second topic of the evening. The Braves missed out on free agent third baseman Josh Donaldson. What's the next move for Braves general manager Alex Anthopoulos, TC?
Well, they didn't get him. And from a Braves perspective, he's 34 years old. If you were going to sign him, I mean, this would have been a huge financial commitment just to come out with it. It would be a huge financial commitment and a commitment that the Braves were not willing to go there for a player who's 34, who does have some injury history. And had they went ahead and matched Minnesota's offer and gave this contract, this deal would have been, it would have been like the richest contract for somebody who's 34 and over since I mentioned his name earlier.
Brown.
And Kevin Brown. Remember the contract he got? It will be the second largest contract for a 33-year-old player older. There was only one, Kevin Brown, who had a 7-year, $105 million deal. I had money stuck in my head from the Dodgers from 1998. So, the Braves long-term, I think they would have gone 2 years, but they weren't going anymore. And the Twins went 4, and they have a 5-year option. So, I just wanted to mention the money to you and ask you before we go into what the Braves are doing, what they're going to do. Do you blame Liberty Media for turning this down and Anthopoulos for doing it?
Well, this to me is baffling. We saw the reports, TC, of the Braves offering 4 years, $100 million. It looked like they were going to sign. I read a report earlier yesterday from MLB Pipeline and MLB Rumors that they was 90% going to sign with Atlanta. I think this was a complete shock to a lot of people. not just Anthopoulos, but he does have the power, I should say, to be able to do something about it. But the Braves lost a lot in Donaldson.
Yeah, on the field they lost it, but off the field, just we'll go into that in a second if you don't mind. I still wanted to talk the money with you. It's for 4 years, $92 million, and a 5th-year option to get to $100 million. I thought no way in heck that Liberty Media would go that far on a 34-year-old player with the injury history. So I thought there was not much of a chance signing him, despite everybody's the chatter and the talk. I figured they would go in another direction. What did you thought they would sign him?
I did. TC, I really did. I thought Atlanta was set on signing Josh Donaldson. And I'll tell you why. Alex Anthopoulos has a great relationship with Josh Donaldson. He was a GM up there, or one of the executives in Toronto when he had his MVP season. He brought him down to Atlanta, so he's got that relationship with him. I really thought they were going to work a deal out. Again, I heard the numbers from several local radio stations here and blogs and podcasts that the number was out there 4 for 100. Looks like with that 5th-year option in Minnesota, I guess he went that way. And also, you look at Minnesota's lineup; it's going to suit him just perfect. So,
it's stacked on the field, no doubt.
So I think that had a lot to do with that decision. But yeah, I do. Overall, I thought the Braves were set on signing Josh Donaldson. I really did. But now this is talking about the money. Let's move on to the other part.
Let's talk about on the field. Let's do that.
This is going to open up doors for other trades. But Braves
sure
have Johan Camargo. They still got Camargo. They still got a good third baseman right there that they can use at an everyday spot.
I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because 2 years ago, his numbers were pretty good for a rookie.
Very good.
Mm-hmm.
And
you and I agree with that had they not signed Donaldson last year, you and I agree that even though Camargo struggled, he was in a tough role coming off the bench, playing multiple positions. That's really hard for a second-year player and a first full-year player when you think about it. That's really hard to do. Or you and I think if he played an everyday role and for the money they were going to give Donaldson, I think this, and I know you do, I think Camargo's got a lot of potential and can play well there.
I do too. I think if you give him everyday at bats, he can give you everyday numbers. He didn't do very well in a limited role last year with Donaldson there. A lot of people think that hindered his progression.
I do. Remember, I mentioned it last year when we talked about this last year.
But Donaldson came in and gave you 37 dingers. But I think we're going.
I know that's a big number.
I do think Camargo can come in and get you 15 or 20, and I do think Camargo can get you 75, 80 RBIs if he gets the at-bats.
Well, if you're talking about if he does that, I'm glad you mentioned that. For the money, that's why they didn't do it. It's not only about the reduction anymore. We all know it's about the money. So
it's about the money.
That's interesting.
But it's also about, to me, it opens up doors for trades as well.
Sure.
If media wants to cut a deal with Denver or Colorado, whichever you guys want to prefer, and if they can do anything with that contract and maybe eat some of that salary on Denver's end, on Colorado's end, and we trade the house for the minors and get Arenado, that opens up a lot of doors too. That's something that would be, who knows, maybe Camargo goes in that trade too. But
you know what, if I may say, I think they're more likely to go in another direction and go Ozuna or Castellanos in free agent and the outfielder, because it would be just a cheaper option. The game has changed, as you know. Everybody they don't want to trade away the big, strong farm prospects for an Arenado or a Bryant who just signed with the Cubs. I just think they'll go with that route because A, the money, and B, you mentioned the doors, and C, they can keep the prospects. And, Castellanos, we talked about it off the air. We know he can hit. Look what he did with the Cubs after he got traded from the Tigers But man, are you going to put him in the outfield in the 7th, 8th, or the 8th or 9th inning when the game's on the line? I'm frightened.
In the postseason? In this division?
In this division?
Yeah, this is going to be a stacked division next year, folks. You're talking Zach Wheeler on the mound in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
You got Thor and Syndergaard up there. Jacob deGrom, Noah Syndergaard, and you still got a stacked lineup out there in Washington. They just won the World Series. Miami's going to be much improved. This is going to be a fun division to watch.
Could you imagine him out there in the field? Like I said, I'm sorry. Could you imagine him out there in the 8th or 9th inning, the way he fields the ball at third or the outfield?
With Bryce Harper,
this is the National League, man. You got to keep him on the bench.
Yeah,
Castellanos, if you acquired him, you know what I mean.
Liability too, but
think about that.
But you got to think though, if the opportunity presents itself to where Nolan Arenado can in Denver, eat some of that salary, let's say 30% of it, just a good chunk of a year or two, and the Braves find a way to get him in there, that really puts you at a shot for a World Series title that this city needs. There's
if
also
the starting pitching does well, batting wise it does, but then you got the next question, which we'll go into another day because we don't have time, would be the starting pitching. But we're just talking about somebody who's going to hit a 4-hole behind Freddie Freeman right now. There's a big void there.
You big void, and it's not going to be Austin Riley. We saw that last year, unless the
guy
strikes
out too many times.
Slider and a breaking ball in spring training. Maybe he has. Maybe he's worked his tail off, and I hope he has. Another option out there, TC, and I want to slide it by you, Chris Bryant. He is also a power hitter. 136 home runs in his first 5 seasons. Has a better OPS than Arenado with 130. I should say OPS plus.
I don't think they get him from the Cubs. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned him, but he just signed with Chicago. I don't see the Cubs trading him away unless the Braves gave him a farm system offer that would blow him away. You know what I mean?
But again, it'd be the same type of deal. You'd have to blow him away with an offer. But I don't see Chris Bryant. I see Nolan Arenado being more of a realistic possibility, but I still see both of them as far off.
I like the fact that you and I went in different directions on this. We probably think it's more probable for the outfielder, which I think it really is, and I don't think it's close. But I am glad that you brought up the other end of it just for the heck of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talked off air. I do think if they're going after someone, if you're putting a hypothetical gun to my head, I would take Ozuna, and I would go after Ozuna because it's going to be a little less expensive, and you get a little bit better player, and you get a little bit better of a glove out there. But this team needs a 4-hole. This team needs a cleanup hitter. They need one bad. This team's too talented. If they get that cleanup hitter, TC, the World Series contenders. They're absolutely World Series contenders with the back end of that bullpen. If Ian Anderson, Bryce Wilson, I can't think of the third prospect, Kyle Wright, there he is. If one of those guys takes the turn, Newcomb takes the turn, comes back, Hamels is here. If he can teach these guys a young thing, Soroka gets you another win. If Max Fried does this thing, you got a solid rotation. You get that 4-hole. This team is pretty close to being no chinks in the armor. And
yeah, I just can't go that far this evening with all that. You can call us at 678-280-7123, especially here, to talk about this Braves situation now that Donaldson is not signed. That to me is, the objective. Of course, everybody wants to jump ahead, but please call us at 678-280-7123 and let JJ and I know what you think, because it was a big day in Major League Baseball, and it was a big day for the Atlanta Braves. They didn't get the man that they tried to get.
Let's not mention the other Braves news. The stadium name.
Oh, let's talk about that. I'm gonna have fun doing that. Truist Park, my friend.
Truist.
You and I talked about this on the phone.
Where are you heading tonight for the game, TC? Oh,
I'm heading to the TP.
The truest Pac.
The truest Pac in Boston, but I'm heading to the TP. Where they can't even do the chant, and where they can't even, next year, if they take away the tomahawk chop. You noticed in Kansas City during the football game, and I'm glad we brought this up. Yesterday,
I heard it.
Did you know? Yeah, but you heard it. But they didn't have the organ playing it. They didn't have anything to do with the organization playing it on yesterday on this weekend when they played the Texans on Sunday. Excuse me. You didn't hear anything. It was all fan driven. So, the Braves are going to have to do the same thing. They're going to let the fans, bring in their tomahawks, and it's going to be all fan driven. It won't be driven by the organization anymore. Personally, I think that's a shame.
Absolutely. It's a shame. It's a shame. It's a shock. To me, I do not think it's, if you're going to call this offensive, in my opinion, you should be living the life of the Native American people. Most Cherokee people go out there, and you see Harris Cherokee Casino is a heavy sponsor for SunTrust Park, and
now Truist.
I don't see a lot of Cherokee feedback on this, and I just think it's a sports team chant. I do not think it's meant to be offensive. I think we're catering to away teams, and you're taking away a serious home field advantage. And if they take away the tomahawk chop music, I think you will see a direct effect in booties in the seats, because I know a lot of people that I affiliate with that buy season tickets that said they will not go to a game if they cannot chop with the music, because that is one of the most fun experiences I have ever had in a game, is when the game is packed. There's 50,000 people at the Turner Field, or now SunTrust Park, the games. I've been to all of them, Atlanta, Fulton County. When that place is packed and that place is chopping, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my sports history. And if you take that away from the fans,
things in
it's going to
Atlanta
be a real
sports,
shame.
and you hate to see that go away, but that's going to have to be fan driven from now on. And knowing I've lived here a long time, the fan driven will be just fine. It'll actually fuel the fire.
Sure.
It'll actually fuel the fans' fire even more to do it even more during the game than they used to, in my opinion.
I hope you're right. But there's going to be these Tuesday night games in July when it's 105 degrees, and there's not going to be many people though. And
if it's a contender, they will be.
So we'll see. Let's go in ahead.
Did you know? Hey, you mentioned the attendance just for a second. I'm sorry, we got time. Their attendance was above the major league average. A little over 2.5 million the last 3 years. They've drawn very well. So the key is, will it be fan driven? And if they're in contention, it'll be more than fan driven. It'll be awesome.
It will be awesome. It's Atlanta sports. Folks, give us a call. Tell us your thoughts on the tomahawk chop. 678-280-7123. Folks, listen to us live and anytime on www.primetime.com. Folks, let's go to our third topic of the evening, one of my specialties. It's a Georgia Bulldogs topic. Dog Nation was shocked when junior quarterback Jake Fromm declared for the NFL draft. Will UGA change their offense for their new toy grad transfer quarterback?
Jamie Newman. Out of Wake Forest, which, there was a lot of rumors, if I may say, that he was going to potentially go to Michigan State because they played Michigan State in the bowl game. This kid's 6'4", JJ, 230.
Bigger than Fromm.
I'm telling, size-wise, he's bigger than Fromm. Last year he turned the ball over way more than Fromm. But do I think they're going to change the offense for him? I think Georgia's always going to line it up and want to run the football, even though they've lost 5 starting offensive linemen from last year. We'll get into that. But it doesn't matter. It seems like whoever they have at tailback comes in there and they have multiple tailbacks. So do I think they're going to change the offense? No, I don't think they're going to change it at all. What I think they're going to do is they're going to take it out of the pro style offense, and they're still going to do it. I think they're going to add the RPOs, which they already have in the offense. And I think plays are going to cater to Newman because he is mobile, but I don't think they're going to drastically change the offense. That's what I think. What do you think?
No, I agree with you. Not much at all. I do think they'll implement some RPOs, just like you were saying. Mark Richt said to the AJC that he thinks Jamie Newman can be the best quarterback in the SEC next year, TC.
I agree with him.
I tend to agree with him. The guy completed 61% of his pass attempts last year, 2,868 yards. You mentioned the 26 TDs, 11 INTs last year. But here's the thing. He also ran for 574 yards. 6
Dude's
scored.
A horse, man. He can
run.
A
horse. And Mark Richt even said that in their ACC channel conference green room that they talked about, having Jamie Newman as the ACC Offensive Player of the Year until Trevor Lawrence picked it up the second half of the season.
Yeah, until somebody out of Clemson went to the title game.
Sure. Until then. But let's face it, I don't think they're going to get crazy. Georgia had this type of player in 2005, DJ Shockley. They did win the SEC championship with that fifth-year senior who stayed behind David Green. So maybe we'll do some things, some RPOs, a little bit spread out. We'll see what
zone read
offense. But, I don't think he's just going to come in here and win this job like everybody thinks he is. I surely expect him. He is
I totally expect it. You know why?
I totally expect it too, but it's not going to surprise me if he has a little struggle. I mean, Stetson Bennett's a good junior college transfer who was a former walk-on at Georgia. DeJuan Mathis, he's healthy it's a big if, from brain surgery. But if he's healthy, his high school highlights are pretty good. And then you got this Carson Beck guy coming in. So it's going to be an open competition.
You're right. It will be. But usually if they bring in this grad transfer, they're going to want him to start.
Absolutely.
And this is it for him. And you know what, though? I bet you see some more, some zone read, some RPO from offensive coordinator James Coley. They're going to change some things. They're going to spread people out. And you can still – people don't get this, and I know you know it. But you can spread people out in the pro-style offense. You don't have to go to a spread to do this. You can still go 5 wide. And as long as this kid cuts down on the turnovers and the offensive line, which is a big, they've lost a lot of kids. That, to me, is the biggest question more than quarterback and anything else on this roster. If the offensive line, and they're just reloading there from what everybody's saying, if this offensive line comes around and this kid has a chance, this team's going to be in it next year because of their defense, because 9 out of 11 guys return, and they're going to be loaded, man.
It's going to be a fun season to watch. Georgia will be extremely loaded, as you mentioned. They're going to have talent. They got a great recruiting class coming back in. And you mentioned, it wouldn't surprise me if Georgia did have this guy get beat out. We mentioned it off air. Grayson Lambert came in. Sure, he started a season, but Jake Eason beat him out the next year. So
this is true. It's true.
So there are times when grad transfers don't work out. You look at last year, Alex Hornibrook down in Florida State didn't win the job till mid-season. You saw Tate Martell transfer down to Miami and not even play hardly.
He played the bowl game. You know what? I can't wait is when I think Newman's going to win the job, but I can't wait till he throws the ball to George Perkins. Man, this freshman was fantastic in the Sugar Bowl. He had 12 catches for about 180 yards, and this is a combination that, Georgia fans have been waiting for, and Newman's got an arm, man, and he's mobile. He's strong. I think he's going to win the job. And if the offensive line kicks butt and they can run the ball, this team's going to be a contender.
They'll be able to run the football. They still have offensive line talent there. Matt Luke was able to get some recruits in despite losing to 3 or
It's going to be
4.
young. It's going to be young though, isn't it?
No, they'll still have some players. Trey Hill, they still have 4 or 5 guys who played this year who will fill in behind them that have experience. And then they also have Ben Cleveland. So you will see some guys, some familiar faces that have played on the offensive line. But, yeah, they will be young. You may even see some freshmen come in here and get some PT from Matt Luke. He went in aggressively and brought in a couple of linemen that he liked from Ole Miss and flip-flopped them right over here to Athens. So he's done a good job of that. He coaches the O-line aggressively. I expect him to really get the best out of Georgia's O-line. I don't think you'll see much slippage there. I think the running backs coming in, McIntosh is there, Zeus is there, Zamir White. We missed out on the number 1 running back, but there's also a number 4 or 5 running back coming in. I can't think of his name off the top of my head.
Zamir White is somebody you're going to want to watch. Run next year.
Number 3. He played a lot in the Sugar Bowl. You saw a lot of him, and you'll also see a lot of McIntosh and James Cook. Thank you. James Cook, Dalvin Cook's younger brother. You'll see him a lot out of the backfield catching passes. I think this is going to be a pretty potent offense next year. And Georgia's got a pretty tough schedule. So we'll see how good Jamie Newman is if he is the starter right off the bat. He plays an ACC opponent that he should be familiar with in Virginia. So that's going to be fun to watch. And that's why I said the game was intriguing.
I just think I saw him play against Michigan State in a bowl game, and I was just impressed. He's a big kid. Now he's coming to this mammoth of a conference, which, you just mentioned, the ACC this past season of the 10, conferences between the Power 5 and the Group of 5. They weren't even in the top 5. There was a Group of 5 conference in AAC that was better than the ACC. So now he's coming to the number 1 conference in the country, and holy smokes, if the offensive line is there, this kid's going to do great. If it's not, he's going to struggle. I don't care who it is. I just think the question marks on the offensive line and this team are legitimate question marks. And hopefully during the spring, when they have the spring game and spring practices, they're not going to show a lot, but hopefully you'll have some answers. Who's going to be in there and who's going to play a lot and who's starting. I mean, I don't know of a school that lost 5 starting offensive linemen. That is huge, man. That part scares me, knowing this team coming back next year, JJ, with their defense. Their defense is going to be better this next year than it was last year, I think.
Absolutely.
I mean, 9 out of 11 guys, this defense was nasty. It could get to the quarterback. And,
unbelievable. This team has.
It is unbelievable. It's a shame the offense didn't do its job last year, because they did. Oh my God!
See what happens. See, right off the bat, you got Virginia, you got
Alabama,
and then you got Alabama. Thing is, this is going to be a stretch for all get out for any college football player. If you're a freshman playing in these 3 first games for the University of Georgia, you're going to be playing 3 games. I think it's like 17 days or something like that. You're going to be playing on the 7th, Monday the 7th. You're going to turn around and play a game on Saturday, then turn around and play a game on the next Saturday. Within 19 days or something like that, you're playing 3 games. So got to get your conditioning down. You're going to have 1 less day to get ready for the second opponent. I think it's East Tennessee or something. I can't remember. You said Cupcake Central. But then you go into Alabama. This kid's going to be tossed into the fire, Tuscaloosa, on probably it's going to be a Saturday evening, or at least a 3:30. I guarantee that'll be a 3:30 CBSer. So that'll be a 3:30 CBS game, packed house. Get ready, Jamie Newman. We'll see if you can extend some plays and beat the Crimson Tide, because that's what it's going to take.
Who do you think is going to be on the starting offensive line? You got a different offensive line coach coming in this year for Georgia. what is it? It's Matt Luke, the former Ole Miss head coach. And then, of course, Sam Pittman left to become the head coach at Arkansas, the former Georgia offensive line coach. Who do you think is going to be the starting five, man? I mean, you follow this program more closely than me. Who do you know who's going to be the starting five this year?
Well,
you had to guess.
We did gain some experience. Another grad transfer from Florida State, Trey McKitty, came in. He'll probably get some playing time at tight end. So there's one. Again, I mentioned Ben Cleveland's still there.
That's right. I'm sorry you did. I apologize for that.
So
sorry
Ben Cleveland will still be there. You'll still have him. Right tackle, right now it's going to be Jameer Slayer.
They're talking about I'm sorry. They say this is the most uncertain of the position, but sophomore Xavier Truss, he could be the right tackle next year. I just wanted to throw that name out. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's in the mix, but freshman Tate Rutledge, a highly touted recruit, is probably going to compete for that position as well. And then you also got Warren McClendon as well. You go down again. Ben Cleveland's going to be the right guard. He'll be. Do
you think Trey Hill? Do you think Trey Hill will start at center?
I do think Trey Hill will start at center. Then right now projected from Dogs to 24/7 Sports. It's Clay Webb, another highly touted recruit that was able to stay. He's the guy that was to follow Sam Pittman at Arkansas, and Sam Pittman said, "Hey, Georgia's the place for you, my friend. We're not going to be basically told him the truth." I don't know how that phone call went, but basically I bet it was along the lines of, you don't want to struggle here when you can succeed there.
Talking about Hill, if you don't mind me saying, he was selected on the Remington Awards watch list last year, an outstanding center. I just asked because I knew you'd tell me he was going to start. It was just, to me, that seems to be the most solid position of all of them on the offensive line. And the one that scares me the most would be the right guard. But, when you recruit this well, and these guys are 6'4" and 305, like Erickson, is, the right tackle position in Truss, maybe they're going to just, Truss has great size for the position at 6'7" and 310. He was the number one player rated from the state of Rhode Island. So who they're bringing in next year, I can understand why you're really confident in this team. And then, senior Justin Schaefer, the left guard, he's played in 26 games in his career at Georgia. He got some starts last year versus Tennessee and South Carolina. So, the cupboard is not bare. It's just, when you think five offensive linemen, you're like, holy cow, correct?
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. But you mentioned Xavier Truss, the redshirt freshman. I got a lot of people calling me saying he's going to be our left tackle. I think you're right about he's in the mix. I just think he's going to flip him over left.
Left tackle. Did I say left guard? If I did, I meant to say left tackle.
But
they're talking about Schaefer being the left guard.
Figured that. But Clay Webb's also in the mix behind Justin Schaefer at left guard too. He can play both positions, but I do think Trey Hill's going to be your starting center. He was there last year in the Sugar Bowl as well. So. I just a really solid position. But, if this team can run block, for
the sky's the limit, man.
They'll be just fine.
How do you like the wide receiver core before we go to the last question? Besides the freshman I just mentioned earlier, how do you like that going into next year? Just quickly.
Well, I love George Pickens. Obviously, you mentioned him.
Right. Besides him, who's going to step up?
We still got playmakers. Remember Demetrius Robinson, a former 5-star, transferred from Cal. Haven't seen too much of him. Trey Blunt, another guy who got some playing time last year. This Micah Tung, Justin Robertson's a freshman coming in. Matt Landers is back. He had some playing time last year.
Yes, he did. Thank you.
Dominique Blaylock will be back, hopefully, from his leg injury, and he has a lot of big playability as well. We got a couple other wide receivers.
Speaking of ability, I'm sorry. I got one more question for you. The tight end position. Newman's a quarterback that, he likes hitting the tight end. Georgia's had a great history of tight end play, and I've always thought over the years that, they're kind of like my alma mater, Michigan, use the tight end more. Who do you expect to come out of the tight end position?
Yeah, I mentioned kind of on the offensive line portion of that, the Trey McKitty grad transfer from Florida State's probably going to be the tight end. You're losing out on Warner and grad transfer Eli Wolf, who had a pretty big impact on that football team last year. So Trey McKitty, I do expect him to come in and get the job. You also have John Fitzpatrick and Darnell Washington out there. Darnell Washington's a highly touted freshman. I think he may actually get more playing time than a lot of people think. But I do expect Trey McKitty to come in and Georgia give him the reins on tight end position. He's fast. He caught some balls last year in a Florida State program that has caught a lot of heat. But to answer your question, I think Trey McKitty will be the starting tight end for the Red and Black when they come out against Virginia next September.
Speaking of the Red and Black, I got some good news for you. The basketball program, under the second year head coach, I'm losing his mind. He's Tom Crean, who's related to, it's Jim Harbaugh and John Harbaugh's brother-in-law. Why did I lose my mind there? Georgia's winning with 142 to go in the game. They're blowing out Tennessee tonight, 80-57. This is a team that has a shot at the NCAA tournament this year. And, talking college basketball, we'll talk about that more next week. I just wanted to throw that score in there since we had, Georgia on your mind.
Absolutely. Well, let's go to the fourth topic real quick. I like to throw
We got plenty of time. We got time.
We got a couple minutes here before we wrap up the show. This will only take 2 or 3 minutes, if that. The LSU Tigers,
we got plenty of time. We go
after the game.
We had to. Huh?
Oh, yeah. After the game, Odell Beckham Jr. was handing out $100 bills to players as they walked off the field. What, if any, will come of this, and how does this look for Louisiana State University?
Oh, it looks brutal, and I'm glad I got it kind of set me first every tonight, but usually I don't go first, but I'm glad I'm going first to this one. I kind of wanted you to go first on Georgia, but anyway, it didn't matter. I wanted you to talk about the program tonight more in detail, and I'm glad you did. But this, Joe Burrow, who said, "Hey, I'm not a student athlete anymore," on a podcast said, "Hey, that money was real." And all I'm thinking is the NCAA, still under today's rules, you can't do that. They're going to look into it big time, number one. And number two, which is that first point is very obvious. Second, OBJ has got to be one of the most selfish, self-centered. It's all about me. Look at me, knuckleheads that I know in sports that you see play, going on the field, making it all about himself instead of the players that actually won the national championship on LSU. That's my biggest take, is that he's self-centered, selfish. It's all about me. Look at me. I'm on the field. I'm passing out money. I'm breaking NCAA rules. I don't give a rat's bit.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. I think it's going to put the school in some hot lava. Honestly, the money was real. I mean, come on. Here's another impact.
What Joe Burrow said.
The thing is that there was an LSU official that said it was counterfeit money. Now, what do we have here?
They don't know. You know what?
Is OBJ out there with counterfeit $100 bills? That's a problem in itself. He's passing them out to players. That's another problem in itself. What's going on here? This is the craziest thing I've seen in a long time. Just like you mentioned, it's the flashy me. And inadvertently, he took away from the player's moment right there. Now we're talking about
that's what I said.
OBJ,
right.
not the players and how great the wide receivers looked in that national championship game. Jefferson Chase. We're talking about Odell Beckham freaking Jr.
We're talking about a guy that's been away from the LSU program, that's playing in the National Football League. And, the spokesman on Tuesday morning told the Baton Rouge Advocate, the newspaper in Baton Rouge, that, this stuff was counterfeit. You mentioned counterfeit earlier. honestly, they don't know squat. And now they're going to look into it. And not only are they going to look into it, JJ, who's going to look into it? The NCAA. They don't need those problems. They just won the national title. And now you got the NCAA's attention on the field. And, you know, you got Joe Burrow. I'm not a student athlete anymore, so I can say, yeah, I'm thinking, Joe, why are you even talking? Why are you answering that question? Now, you're gone. You're away from the school. That's all Jim Dandy. But what about the rest of the kids that have got to play there next year? Didn't you think that was a little selfish? Even though he had a record year, over 60 touchdowns, and he's going to be the number one pick in the draft and going to go to the Bengals, and he's an Ohio native and yada, yada, yada. But my point is, JJ, that was pretty selfish on his part too.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I'll wrap up. My final thought on that is just a bunch of selfish acts to end the season. Unbelievable. What a great team. Talking about a great team. Arguably one of the greatest in college football history, at least on the offensive side of the football. And now it's overshadowed by this.
Oh, I mean, you know, it's sad and it's pathetic and it's selfish and it's just stupid. I mean, it's just stupid. And you know, TV's going to film it. And here's the deal. It's all about attention. It's about me, and attention. You know what? If television doesn't film it and they go away from it, nobody ever sees it. Then nobody else does it. You know what I mean? This world and society is just, you know, it's changed so much. It's changed. Who would have thought 5 years ago some current NFL player would get on the field and start passing out money? Did you? I surely didn't see it coming.
Didn't see it coming. Thought it was unnecessary. Again, we've mentioned that. It was shocking. When I saw it on live TV, I'm going, what the hell is going on? I literally go, what am I missing here?
You're missing something.
Unbelievable.
I'm missing something. I just can't believe what goes on and changes in football in the last year in college football. And we can talk about that on another podcast on another day. And, you know, we'll talk about all the big changes in a year coming down the line in college football. You know, I know it's time to wrap up, but, you know, in everything like that, and I'll let you, but man, his time's changed. And man, is this sticking my craw. And you know what? If LSU, which I don't know what's going to happen, but these selfish acts are going to burn the players that are next year, if any consequences, and the coaches for next year. And it takes away, it doesn't take away what they accomplish on the field, but it sure leaves a bad taste in somebody's mouth.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable. Oh, man. Well, listeners, thank you for joining in. Lou, thanks for the call. Listeners, thanks for everything you guys do for us, or for Stephanie.
Hey, I enjoyed the show, too.
Hey. Thank you.
Wayne did come on there. I didn't say, well, Kate,
come on in, Wayne. I've been listening.
Stay on with us. Hey, Wayne, I'm glad you stay on. If anybody else can call in, we'll stay on a few extra minutes. If you do want to call in, it's 678-280-7123. I know you want to talk college basketball, so
we can save that for next. We can save it for next week. I know we just came off that championship game and the whole Odell Beckham situation, but you know, next year
I'll talk college basketball with you too. Go ahead.
Well, Memphis and Cincinnati coming up tomorrow.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of parity, and Memphis plays Cincinnati tomorrow at home. But I'm still upset about Georgia beating Memphis at home last week.
You know, that's between you and JJ there on that.
What a game. What a game.
Hey, who would have thought that Georgia would have been able to hit close to 50% three-point shots?
They never have. I was watching the game, and I was thinking of you the entire time. I tweeted at you a couple times. What an unbelievable performance behind the line for Georgia. Georgia controlled the game. Honestly, in their favor. They never got behind too big. They were able to make the shots. Anthony Edwards came down, played great defense, got a couple steals in the second half there that really changed the outcome of the game. And those threes really were the difference. Wow, Wayne, what a game, man! Memphis.
Yeah. Well, I was there and had to do the slow walk back to the parking lot.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
you know what,
man.
guys? Between the two of you, I'm an impartial observer here. I knew exactly what was going on, and I'm a Michigan alumnus. So we had our own problems that day on the court, but that was a heck of a game. But if I don't mind jumping just for a minute, what a week! Not only did Clemson have on the field for football until they lost, but they upset North Carolina at North Carolina for the first time in like 59 years. And then they turned around last night and won at Duke. Not only did I get stunned once, Wayne, I got stunned twice.
How about Michigan State? How about Michigan State getting beat by Purdue, blown out by Purdue?
I'm glad you know what, Wayne? I'm glad you mentioned that. That is the worst loss in Michigan State history on the road when they're ranked in the top 10.
Really?
That loss reminds me, I'm old, so this is going to take me back, and you guys can come back with me and laugh at my age. Remember that loss. It reminds me, even though this is crazy, and Deshaun Tate, who's been a guest on our program before, we'll have him on. It reminds me when Michigan State won the title in 1979. They were a bigger favorite going into Northwestern with Magic, Greg Kelser, and et cetera. I watched the game on a black and white TV in my room. This is a long time ago. They lost to Northwestern. They were the number one ranked team in the country, and they lost at Northwestern, yet they won the title that year over Indiana and Larry Bird in Indiana State. That took me back to 1979. Not that it was similar, but wow, I can't remember Michigan State getting thumped on the road in the top 10 like that. And they didn't get thumped at Northwestern. It was just such a significant loss that it brought me back to that significant loss back in 1979. There was just a parallel in my old head what happened to that team. Coached by Judge.
I didn't start getting into college basketball until about 1984 when I had decided I was going to go to Memphis State University. So that's before my time.
Oh, I'm way before you guys' time.
State, baby.
I'm older than you. I'm not going to mention on the air, but the thing is that I'm glad you called in about college basketball. Wayne, before we go, tell me about your opinion about the money on the field.
I think it's a little bit ridiculous. Somebody wanting to grab a little bit of me time when they should not have been doing it.
Me time. That's really good.
We all agreed.
That me time, I mentioned it was selfish. I kind of like the word me time. That was me time. In today's terms, that really was me time. And, that was something else. Shifting back to college basketball, if I may, Georgia won tonight. Memphis has got, this is a team that can make the NCAA tournament, which I think they will. But, if the Big Ten is just stupid. Nobody can win on the road. Everybody's winning games at home. I know 11 teams from the conference aren't going to make it. I'm thinking 8. These got Michigan and Michigan State play big games this week on Friday night, back-to-back, not against each other, but they play other opponents. Michigan's playing Iowa. They've already played Iowa this year, and they go to Iowa, and they won at home against Iowa. Hang on a second. We'll do it. Have you seen Garza play of Iowa, guys? Have any of you guys seen him play? The center at Iowa, the forward at Iowa. Have you guys seen him play at all before we go?
I have not.
No, I have not. I haven't either.
Watch him against Michigan. He had 40 the first time they played him. He had 40, was it 47 or 44? It was in the 40s. And it was like the second most ever, opponent scoring in a game against Michigan. And guess what? He can get in the 40s again against Michigan at home. This guy is going to play in the NBA. He's got size. I just wanted to mention a player to watch and college basketballs. Before we go tonight, I just wanted to mention that, and I'm glad you called in, Wayne. So
yeah, Wayne, I apologize. I'm still getting used to this app thing. We haven't done it enough consistently. Once we get better, I'll see you on the line there. I do apologize for that, man.
Hey, listen, I'll keep listening and calling in and doing the Twitter thing, so it ain't no sweat off my back.
Well, I'm glad we heard from you tonight, man. This is all, stuff is new, and I'm seeing stuff at the last minute. I heard your voice, and I'm like, JJ, you didn't put him on the air.
Yeah, I had the call line monitored the first half, and then I just, oh man, no one's on there, and then I just didn't. The last 12 minutes of the show, that's when he called in, 8:43, 15 minutes of the show. So Wayne, I do apologize. Thanks for calling. Thanks for calling me. Thanks for calling us. Thanks for the meeting time, OBJ. I hope you guys got it there. Guys, tune in next week, same time, same place. Call us next week, same number, 678-280-7123. Lou, Wayne, thank you for your calls.
Hey, thank you, OBJ, thank you for calling me tonight. That was hilarious.
All right, you guys have a good one. Same place next week. For TC, for Stephanie Stallworth, for Mark Mancini and Breck behind the boards, I'm JJ Jurjevich. Wayne, Lou, thank you so much. We'll see you guys next week.
We'll see you next week. Thanks a lot, man. I had a good time. See you next week.
Good to have you back, TC. Good to hear from you, Wayne, and get you one.
All right, man.